The only established cause of mesothelioma is asbestos exposure. When a client comes to us with that diagnosis, we assure them that they were exposed to asbestos somehow in their lives, whether they know it or not or recall it or not. What we do initially with the client is really dig into deeply how they could have been exposed to asbestos, whether it was directly from a job they had or a family member who perhaps inadvertently brought asbestos home on their clothing or in their hair, or even from consumer products that contain talc. In every mesothelioma case, there is a source of asbestos exposure. In one of the first things that we do here at the Lanier Law Firm is figure out what those exposures were and who's responsible for them. Sometimes the companies responsible for those exposures had filed for bankruptcy, and there are bankruptcy trusts that are intended to compensate people who are exposed to those products. The reality is that anyone who comes to us with a diagnosis of mesothelioma, we're confident they were exposed to asbestos, and it's really about figuring out how.
I think it's important to point out in that quest to find the exposure, how the exposure occurred. At the Lanier Law Firm, we have 3 full-time private investigators whose entire job is dedicated to investigating these claims. Going back to 35 years ago, if a client tells us they worked in a factory in Akron, Ohio, or wherever it may be, we have 3 full-time private investigators that are on the ground, researching, running newspaper ads, whatever it takes to identify the asbestos-containing products at that facility or the ways in which the person was exposed.